Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection, bringing you 3 unique perspectives and varying skill range. I am the runner of this episode, Andrew. With me, the one who has the runs, Keith.
Hello.
And the one who's afraid of heights, Liz.
Hey guys, I just want to point out though that Andrew is the one that is afraid of heights.
Thank you for explaining that to everyone. But for the sake of this podcast, you're the one afraid of heights. This week, we played Mirror's Edge, which was a listener recommended from Colton. So thank you, Colton, for recommending we play Mirror's Edge. Well, technically, he recommended we play Mirror's Edge Catalyst, but that's the sequel, and none of us has ever played the series, and I've always heard good things about it. So I figured we'd start from the beginning. And thank you all so much who voted on our poll on our Twitter at GBGBpod, who helped pick this game for us. So Mirror's Edge is a first-person parkour action-adventure game, which is brought to you by EA. But the story of Mirror's Edge is you are playing a young woman in the future who, in a futuristic city where corporations essentially run the city, but in order for people to deliver secret messages that are never seen by the government, they hire these people known as runners. And they are essentially parkour people who run across the rooftops, dodge security cameras in order to deliver packages and hidden messages. But going around, Liz, was this a game or pass for you?
I mean, this is a pass. There were times in the game where I was like, this is a definite pass. And then it would switch to just a regular pass. For me, my biggest hang up was the combat. Like, I would get into the platforming, and then all of a sudden, I would just, there's so many things that I can think of that would have made the combat better or tolerable. For me, and this is just my perspective.
Is Jack Black one of the things?
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I really struggled with just like up and down so much. And Andrew at one point, I think it was like an hour. No, it was the tutorial.
Yeah,
the first time that Andrew was like, Liz, just stop playing the game was a tutorial.
Yep.
And there were a couple of times where I would just like be raging because my character wouldn't grab something that she was supposed to, or I would just get so frustrated. And I just realized, it was a tutorial that you were like, Liz, why don't you watch a movie or something, or a show?
You know it's going to be a good week when you're not even getting through the tutorial without anger.
But yeah, pass.
Hey, but a listener did write in saying that she also struggled with the tutorial, so you're not alone.
Yes, and I would oh my gosh. I put a video online. And I want to say I was so happy somebody pointed out that, because I didn't really realize it when I posted it, that I disarmed somebody in a fail video. And I was like, do you know what? I actually did do a little good there. I was really grateful.
I think that's one of the special things about this game is you can fail so eloquently. Everything can be going so well, and then you just fail. And this isn't just you, Liz. This is just the way that the Mirror's Edge is played, and I myself had plenty of those same struggles. I'm kind of in a weird struggle on this game because there's nothing about it that really makes it a pass for me. But there was certainly nothing about this that made me want to play it.
I feel like you've been saying this with a lot of games recently. You're kind of like, it's just a personal pass, but it's a good game. I feel like you've been saying it for like...
No, but this isn't even like it's a good game. It's kind of like, it's the issues of the game are what make me not want to play it. It was just, I just thought it was boring. So like, it is a pass, but like it could have been a game. And I think that's where I'm struggling with it, is I could have liked this, but I didn't.
So I guess I should point out that this is an Xbox 360 game, and it originally came out in 2008. So do you guys just think it's just dated?
No, because I feel like there were, like, especially like what you said about combat, not to get too much into it, but it's like, there's no reason why my character can't hold a weapon while she's parkouring, why she can't.
Do you know how heavy guns are?
A handgun? Are you serious? They have like little pistols in their ankles. Stuff.
She can parkour with a pistol.
Yeah, there's no reason. Or have something strapped across your back. At least carry a knife. Like, for me, that's why I kind of disagree.
Right. Well, I guess we'll be the odd man out. I'm going to give this a game. Don't get me wrong. I have some gripes with this. I personally, I actually think it is probably because of how old this game is.
It deserves some forgiveness with its age.
Yeah, but for me, what I liked about this game is it's very unique. There's really not something where you're kind of doing a first-person parkour.
And was this before parkour was a thing? Because remember, like, I feel like it was like 10, 15 years ago. It like really shot up.
I mean, 2008 was 14 years ago.
Oh, that's so weird to think about.
I don't know. When was the Office episode? Parkour one.
I know. I feel like this is primetime parkour was when this game was made.
Yeah, I
primetime
think so.
Parkour.
And it's weird, and maybe I'm cutting you off a little, Andrew. I'm sorry. I agree with you that it's unique, but it doesn't exceed in any of its uniqueness, for one. And I also disagree that I think it's an age thing, because the combat, like the combat is about as good as it was on GoldenEye, and that's one of the biggest gripes I have with it. It's not even like dated to 2008. It's dated to like 1998.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just some of the mechanics and the AI I think is where it kind of shows its age in it. But I don't know. I'm really curious. I really want to try the sequel because I feel like I enjoy where this game is going, and so I feel like I'm really interested in trying the sequel now because from my complaints, I hope they fix in the sequel.
Are we doing the sequel?
At some point,
I don't know.
Probably,
maybe
it's going to be in a future poll, guys.
and to that point, I mean, that's where I'm not fully on a pass as far as like I would try I would try Catalyst, I would try Mirror's Edge 2, whatever it is. I just didn't want to play more of this one.
All right. So as I said with the story, you are playing a runner whose job is essentially to just deliver packages and mails on the rooftop by using your parkour skills. But of course, not everything is as it seems because, this is the future. And, of course, corporations are evil. And, of course, murder happens. And so your sister eventually gets framed for a murder. So you take it upon yourself to solve the murder and find out who is the real villains of the city. And how can you save your sister?
You would ask Keith what the story was. Because he doesn't really like stories. And I feel like this is like the perfect story where you can kind of just ignore it.
Oh, well, I knew Keith was going to ignore
it.
And yeah, Keith, how much of the story have you picked up?
What is Icarus?
I picked up that it was in the future, government bad, cool young runners are anti-government. Yeah, that's about what I got.
I mean, yeah, that's like 90% of the story. So I guess you were paying attention. All right, good job, Keith.
I didn't get to the end, and. I'm like trying to, because it is like a shorter game, but I really struggled. And I was just wondering what became of Icarus.
So the story. This is my first complaint with Mirror's Edge. First, I was excited. I thought this world is really cool. I thought the concept, not overly unique, future government and corporations run everything and, try to our big brother and watching you and what you're doing and blah blah blah.
Well, it's
not
weird
very original.
because I was kind of confused. Like, were they going for like a squeaky clean image of like, oh, like everything's perfect, or is it just like the way that they designed the game, where it's like kind of like just everything is like blindingly white and pristine? I kind of just I didn't know if it was just like a design choice, or if it was supposed to make it seem like everything looked great.
I mean, now that you bring that up, honestly, everything was great. You really do not visit grungy areas. You at one point literally are going through the sewers, and even the sewers themselves are pretty clean.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of curious.
Maybe the government and corporations are actually doing a really good job, and your character's actually evil and just trying to mess things up.
No, I mean, I don't think good people frame people for murder.
Oh,
personally.
Okay, I guess. But maybe the politician was like a real bad guy, and you don't know that.
I also think it's funny that like everything is security based. And like I said earlier, you don't have a weapon. You're going to run into police and bad guys all the time. And you have nothing to defend yourself. You're just like so confident in your parkour skills.
I mean, she has good parkour skills. But I will say, the story for Mirror's Edge is honestly, by the end of it, I want to say it's one of the worst stories I've ever seen.
I looked up the ending.
It's bad. Are we allowed to say
because the game is so old, or should we not spoil it?
I think we could. Do we want to have a spoiler at the end and talk about it?
I mean, I didn't see anything about it.
Let's do like a small spoiler at the end.
Okay. But by the end of it, this made me sad because, like I said, I thought the world and the environment of what it's building up to was kind of cool. But the transition cinematics between the levels are so poorly written. Like, they're just so dumb.
They're so 90s though, like, which is funny because this came out in 2008? Nobody was saying 5x5 in 2008.
Yeah.
Like, what?
But I always think it's funny.
5x5?
Yeah, that was a 90s thing. Like, I remember seeing that on, like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series. Like, nobody was saying that in the late 2000s.
What is 5x5?
Just meaning, like, everything's good. It's weird. Like the way it's
said that.
Exactly.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think it was like Faith or something on Buffy.
It was one of like the security bosses, and he's like, "No, everything's 5x5." Like, it was like so weirdly written. The writing of this game is really bad.
That's why when I saw that it was 2008, I wanted to question it. I was like,
Like, a lot of the dialogue and like the scenes for you to go, like how your character learns to where to go next, it's very much like you're fighting a bad guy and they're like, "Oh, I'm never going to tell you that we're meeting at the docks at 5 o'clock down at the harbor." Like, it was always like really poorly written of them explaining, like trying to make it seem like they're not going to tell you where to go, but your character's like, "Oh, maybe I should go to the harbor." And it's just like, this writing's bad.
I do want to say though, and I mean, I don't want to be that person, but I do like that this game didn't like overly sexualize like the female characters. If you look at them, they look like normal women. Like, the main character's in baggy pants the whole time. The woman that has like the crop top, she doesn't have like a 6-pack abs or anything with her boobs hanging out. Like, it was kind of refreshing.
I like that you pointed out. You're like, "Oh, she has a cookie pouch."
I did not say cookie pouch. First, no, you're trying to get me in trouble. I did not say cookie pouch. I said she has like just like a regular stomach. Like, she isn't like stick thin with big boobs. Not that that's not normal. It's normal for some people.
I mean, it makes sense if you're parkour. You want to be kind of a more petite person.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, they weren't like, the typical silhouette of video games, which I thought was kind of refreshing.
So they weren't like Lara Croft, is what you're saying?
The Lara Croft game that we played, I actually didn't have anything negative to say about. I feel like she actually looks really good. Yeah. Maybe it's an older game that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
The old Tomb Raiders.
I didn't see.
She was just tough and really cool, the one that I played.
What always bothered me was, why did Hope or Faith, the character you're playing, why did she only have a glove on her right hand? Like, why?
I thought Michael Jackson.
Well, Michael Jackson had a full glove. She just had a palm glove, which makes sense for parkour. But it's like, why wouldn't you just?
She's the Michael Jackson of parkour.
But anyways, we were still on story here. Did you guys find it at all interesting, at least?
Like I said, I think the dialogue, I liked, what's his name, Merc? M-E-R-C?
Yeah.
I liked him. I wasn't sure if like he was going to end up being a bad guy or not, because I actually really liked him, so I was hoping not. But I was kind of interested, but it was just kind of cheesy too, and it was just the way that they spoke was so dramatic. Like,
it was.
So, especially the main character. So, for me, I didn't really care, like, hearing her speak and just kind of, like, swagger onto the screen. So, I mean, I was paying attention, but I wasn't thrilled.
Did you ever get to the scene where they revealed the assassin? That was another super poorly written scene. It was so cheesy.
I don't think so. I think I know based on, like, what I read, but...
You find out who the assassin is. The assassin's very much... It's like, the line the person says is like, "I told you to, like... change things," or like the things are going to change in this world, and just runs away, and like that's the end of it. That's all you hear of the assassin, and it's just like, all right, that was it. Okay, moving on. The writing.
But also, what are the secrets of this town? Do you find out?
No,
like,
not really.
What makes them so bad? I mean,
no. All right, I feel like we're just getting into spoilers anyway. So I apologize.
I'm sorry.
So this Project Icarus that everyone keeps talking about, like, oh man, Project Icarus. Oh, this is going to end the town. This is awful. Project Icarus, all it is a parkour facility where they're teaching people to do parkour. That's literally it. It's the government's version of them training to do people do parkour. And it was like, that's it? Like, that's the big evil project is a training facility?
I just think there were so many missing pieces in the story that like I tried to stay focused and interested, but there was just too many unexplained things that I was just like, listen, if you're not going to put the effort in to explain it to me, I'm not going to put the effort in to try to connect all these dots that aren't even there. I also just want to say, I thought it was interesting that what appeared to be a bad guy kept calling her Faithy because she's
Jackknife. That's just also a very like 90s name.
And also, oh my gosh, I just connected the dots, guys. Faith was the one that said 5x5 in Buffy.
No. It was the rope burn.
No, in Buffy.
Oh.
And then in this, 5x5, and then her name is Faith. Isn't that weird?
I didn't know there was a character named Faith in Buffy.
Yeah, I
never watched Buffy.
I guess I'm just not as up to my knowledge of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as I should be.
It's the only time that I've heard that phrase, and it was from her, and then in this, there's a Faith. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that the bad guy kept calling her something different, and I wasn't sure if he was saying it to be, like, snarky
or
or
the bad guy calls her Faithy. Your sister calls you Effie. I don't think Mark calls you anything, but I think it's weird. Like, everyone keeps coming up with weird nicknames for you.
I will say, I feel like most people I know call me something different.
I call you Wonderful.
Actually, I'm thinking, like, you never addressed me by my name.
No.
You really don't. What would you call me? That is so weird.
No, it's
Well, any nickname you come up with me is rude.
Brownie. No, but what do you usually call me? Do you call me Liz?
You should call you Babe.
yeah.
No, but like if you introduced me.
Oh, I introduced you as my ex-girlfriend.
Well, oh my god. I'm done.
I mean, it's not a lie. So I guess there's something to be said for that. Yeah, I generally, if I hear my first name, I know I'm in trouble. So
yeah, like the last time someone called me Elizabeth, I'm like, ooh.
like, oh jeez.
My mom was probably yelling at me about something. Andrew, like people give him nicknames, but like he's typically called Andrew, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always just called you Andrew.
I don't know. I have some people call me Drew. Some people call me Andy. I have one nurse at the hospital called me Harvey because I told her she can come up with a nickname, and she picked Harvey, and I was like, all right. I don't know if I'll remember it. But anyway, so back at the story, Liz. I know you were complaining about trying to connect the dots, and I agree with you. Like, there's a lot to this world that I wish was more explained. So there's collectibles. You're finding hidden packages, but all you unlock really with those hidden packages are concept art. And so, like, there's not even, like, collectibles you can find to read about what's really going on in the story.
Which I only found, what did you say? I found 2?
You found 2 out of 30.
But I also turned down the volume. Sometimes I had subtitles on because the music was so annoying. Not to get ahead. But, so I think maybe that's why I missed them. Because they do tell you when you're near one.
No. There's an indicator. There's a little icon of the eye tattoo your character has.
Oh.
When you see that, that means there's a package nearby.
Yeah.
So nothing
see,
to do with
I thought
audio.
you were telling me that they were telling me.
Nah.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But getting into the gameplay, though. So, as I said, majority of the gameplay is you doing parkour, wall running, wall jumping, hanging from ledges, zip lines, barrel rolls, what have you. Typical parkour moves. No, that's what they're called,
I
right?
think so. That sounds right.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you would call them.
So that's a good chunk of it. You jumping around on rooftops. But then, of course, there's combat, which, as we said, your character normally does not carry a gun. You can disarm somebody or knock someone out and pick their gun up. But majority of your combat is punching someone, sliding and kicking them in the crotch, jumping and punching them in the face, while running and punching them in the face, and that's about it. But when you actually get a gun, yeah, you can shoot people, which, of course, Liz always prefers the genital area.
I don't know why. I
characters.
noticed it. And it takes more bullets, and you only get a
takes more
couple
bullets to
bullets with
shoot 'em
each
with the
gun,
crotch.
and then you have to get a new gun. Yeah, so that was that was frustrating.
Yeah, the combat really is obviously. I mean, granted, this game's meant to be about parkour. I just felt like they were like, we got to do something to mix it up, and so they threw in combat.
But is it? Like, that's what frustrated me with this game and the gameplay. Where, like, every time that I started to get into the groove with the parkour and, like, the just traveling around this world, I'd get a cutscene or I'd get enemies. And the combat was so bad and the dialogue was so bad that I just constantly had that cutoff where it's just like, oh, great. Yay. And so for me, like, it's not even what I said earlier about, like, not being able to carry a gun or carry a weapon, but you have this, like, slow down feature and you have, it's like a quick time thing. You have to hit to disarm them, and then you have a gun. But it just like the enemy accuracy was so like off and on. And so for me, like it would be like the first time that I was shot at, they hit me like 20 times. And then after that, they would hit me 3 times. And there were some times nobody would hit me at all. And then it was just dead on accuracy. And it would just, for me, like that was just all over the place.
That's what irritated me. There was the accuracy. I'm like, yeah, I'm dodging bullets. Then randomly they just laser me and I died. I'm like, oh, okay.
You helped me with a certain event in the game or a certain
segment.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And you were making fun of me at first. Then you were like, here, let me do it. And then you're like, oh crap, this is super annoying. And because they kept hitting you dead on right when you were trying to center yourself and jump. And so I was like, oh, well, there you were running your mouth.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like that summarizes just about any sequence that involved any bit of combat. And I think you're right that I think they added it as like, let's try to add some more to this gameplay. But they didn't need to. They absolutely did not need to add combat. Why couldn't there have been more? Why couldn't there have been more stealth features? Why couldn't there?
Yeah, that's what I wish they added.
Like the combat, and the thing is, the controls are built in a way that for the parkour game style makes sense. You don't need to take your hands off of the sticks. You're running, you're jumping, you're doing everything, all without needing to take your hands off of the sticks, and that's important for the gameplay. However, when it comes to combat, the controls are not built for combat, and the game is not built for combat. I just think it could have been taken out, and I think it could have been more hands-on or more stealth, or it could have just not existed at all. Is really what I think.
I really wish it was stealth, and like because I felt like they were hinting at it. Some of the cutscenes, your character's like sneaking through the shadows and like slinking away. Yeah, and I was like, oh, cool. Like,
but you
love to be able
never
to do that.
lose the enemies. They always know where you are whenever enemies are around. And like there were scenes too where I would see the enemies like flinging forward, like doing parkour, and be like, oh, I guess I have an enemy coming up. But yeah, I wish there was either like you could play like heavy combat or stealth. And I also just think too that like right when I was getting, like I said earlier, right when I was actually enjoying the parkour, they would cut it up and be like, oh, you're either having cutscene or you're having, so they never let you enjoy any of it. The combat wasn't enjoyable. Right when you like the parkour, they ended it. So for me, I was just like, with the people who created it, like, what did they find enjoyable?
Well, so, like, the chapters seem to all have a very much set pattern.
Salty.
It was start on the rooftops, run across some rooftops, find a door, go indoor. You're in a building. The colors, you kind of have a biome to it because all of the walls sort of have a similar color. That won't be the same in the next level. You run through that, maybe some vents, get shot, and then you come to a big kind of like forced fight scene of some sort, or at the very least, lots of enemies, escape out of the inside of the building, run across some more rooftops, and then you get to the end of the game, the level. And that was the formula for every single chapter of this game. And I say every chapter. I only played 5 of 8. I just couldn't be bothered to play the last 3 because.
But you're not wrong, Keith. It is, even the other chapters are very similar to that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, I just, and I hang my hat on. That's not a 2008 issue. There was a lot of well built out and expansive games in 2008. This isn't like the start of the Xbox. This was like an Xbox level game on the Xbox 360 to me.
I keep thinking of it as a 90s game and thinking like how great certain aspects of it were for that. I keep forgetting it was 2008. And I also want to point out too that when you're going throughout these levels, like, I am not an observant person. I wish I was. I really do. But so you hit B and it shows you which location you need to go. It's not like the like where you need to go to get there. It's just like where you need to end up.
Yeah, your character looks at the direction you need to go.
Where your next thing is. And so like I was trying forever to figure out how to get up high, and I was like trying these different fences and trying to jump on everything. You had to go down and then go back up. You had to fall off the roof and then go back up. And I was just like, that is stupid. Like this is the first time in the game that I've had to do that. I don't think to look below me when I'm going up, you know? And so for me, like I felt like there's no rhyme or reason. And same with physics. F physics in this game.
Because they don't
Okay?
exist.
If you need to get up, you do a wall jump and you glide along the wall. But you know what? You magically go up while you're gliding and then you get up. Why would I think of that? So like you can wall jump. You can do like left bumper, right bumper, left bumper, which I always forgot to do. But then you can also just glide along the wall and it'll bring you further. And usually it always brought you level. But there was this one scene that it brought you up. And I was like, do you know what? That's just like, that's dumb.
I mean, no, it's a very gamer thing. Like I naturally, there's a ton of games that do that. When you wall run, you do a slightly upward angle and get slightly
But
higher.
they didn't do that the whole game until this one
it
section.
Did. It did.
So,
You just probably weren't doing wall runs.
no matter what, it like physics.
I agree, yes.
Like
The
you don't
physics aren't accurate,
magically
but-
go up as you're running up a wall. Like for me, like I was trying to figure out how to get to a higher point, and every time it didn't make sense to me. I'm getting salty about it. Like
I know you are.
I'm more irritated.
So I agree with you on a big thing. For me, my biggest complaint when it came to the gameplay was pressing B and your character just like jerks her head and looks at the thing that the direction you need to go to. This game has no HUD. Like they tried very hard to give you no HUD at all.
But
You literally have
sometimes-
one dot in the center of your screen, which will sometimes turn blue to tell you have runner vision, but that's it. And I think this game so desperately just needs, like, I know you don't want a HUD, but please give me an arrow. I would love some sort of marker or dot saying get to this spot, because I hate when I'm running and like things are going good, I'm jumping over things, sliding, and I press B and my entire character's body shifts sharply to the left and just throws me off my rhythm. And I'm like, this is an awful setup.
What's the runners thing that you're talking about?
That's the slow-mo. It's called runner's vision.
Oh. Yeah, sometimes when you hit B2, sometimes it would send me in one direction and be like, that doesn't seem right. And I would hit B again and it would show me in the other direction. So sometimes it was wrong. And there are times too where you have like multiple escalators and you're trying to figure out how to go up and people are shooting at you and you only have 3 hits before you're dead. And so for me, I found it really frustrating where I was like, I don't know where to go. And I felt like that multiple times during the game. And I think that's another reason why I really dislike the combat.
Yeah, but for me, the parkour in this game, when it gets going, it is great. I had a ton of fun when I actually clearly see like the route I'm supposed to take or the destination I'm supposed to go. And, I'm wall running, I'm jumping, I'm gliding, grabbing on posts, shimmying. Ton of fun. It's super fluid when it works. There's a handful of times I'm jumping and my character just decides not to grab the ledge or not grab the post. That would really irritate me. But when the game works and it's going, it is a ton of fun and it's a blast. Yeah,
because you're jumping out like from pipes to ledges and you're like shimmying around. And there were times where I was just like very much in the moment. And I just felt like the game just needed more of that.
Well, see,
it did.
And that's where I agree with both of you. Yes, that's the best part of this game. But that's every reason I don't like the game, or I didn't really care for playing, is that there's not enough of it. It's like this is what the gameplay is supposed to be, and you get maybe 30 seconds of it in 5-minute chunks, and otherwise it's a lot of just retrying things because oops, she didn't grab the ledge quite right. Oops, she didn't quite jump the way you needed her to, and it took me out of any of the real semblance of the gameplay, and so overall I just found it hard to have fun. And beyond that, even when things were smooth, in my mind, I envisioned this game. I'm a runner. I'm parkour. I'm running. It felt like I was slightly jogging. Even when you got like moving quickly, it was a very janky, fast walk to me.
I don't know. I disagree. I thought she was pretty quick.
I didn't at all.
I think you're a little spoiled with some sprints in some games.
No, sometimes I didn't know if I was running because there were some times where she would you would see her little hands going, and then other times where she wasn't. But I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm running, but I felt like I didn't know.
Would you like if she had like an audio cue, like "gotta go fast"?
Yes.
Or something. I'm so speedy. Every time you know she's running.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would have helped.
It seemed like
Or the runner's vision.
it seemed like it kind of blurred the edges of the screen a tiny bit when you started running.
I thought that's what runner vision was when it had like the blue on the side.
No, that was just indicate that you were top speed.
Yeah.
How do you get to top speed? Just by the amount of time that you're running?
Yeah, just by running and not
By
stopping.
yeah.
You just slowly build up to max speed.
Which is an achievement to continuously run for 30
Which
seconds.
is weird. I don't know how you do that.
It's very easy. On the third level, when you're in the drain system, when you get out of the drain system, it's a giant circle. Just run around it. I ran around it for 30 seconds, got the achievement. That was it.
So maybe it's because I don't run a lot, but I feel like I usually slow down very quickly after I'm at my top speed. So for me, I'm just and also how long it takes to get to fast speed. I'm just I just don't think I'm a runner.
Yeah, this game makes me feel very lazy. Yeah. She's doing all these crazy climbs and jumps and not complaining. She's not huffing at all. You know, she's like peak performance, and I'm sitting here with my fat self on the couch, and I'm like, oh God, this is making me feel so lazy.
I will say
faster?
I'm very impressed by the amount of rolls that I did, though. So when you do a high jump and you roll, you don't take damage. And I did it a lot, and I was actually really impressed.
You actually had to hit a button to roll, and you actually remembered.
And you have to hit it at a precise time.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to pat myself on the back.
That was the one thing she could do right.
Nice job, Liz.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
So I think that the whole running aspect of this game is great. For another thing I wish this game had more of was open world moments. There's a couple areas where it's slightly bigger, and there's some paths you can kind of take differently, but they're very few and far between. I think this game would have... I mean, granted, it's 2008. Open world games weren't as... Actually, no, that's not true. There's a good amount of open world games in 2008. But if this game was more open, I think it had more stealth combat, this game would be fantastic. So this is why I'm excited to play Catalyst. Because, just us talking about it, we already have these ideas, and I'm like, I'd love to see if they implemented it. Because I heard the sequel is really good. I mean, I heard this one was also really good, too, but... I kind of struggled a little bit sometimes. But the running is a ton of fun in it. And, this game also has a bunch of time trial modes, so you can kind of replay the levels and beat your high score and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool, but it was just frustrating, when I'm trying to do a time trial. And like I said, I feel like I did that jump perfectly, and my character just decided not to grab the post, and I fell to my death, and I have to restart that segment.
And sometimes it was forgiving, and sometimes it wasn't.
I found it usually forgiving.
Well, no, there were times where you started right where you died, or there's one time that advanced me, which was nice. But there were a couple times where I had to redo kind of annoying segments where you had to land things perfectly, and it really irritated me that there's just this one hang up that I couldn't get past, and it made me redo the entire thing. So for me, I don't know. I'm in the middle with whether it's forgiving or not.
Yeah, it's weird because it doesn't take you far back, but if there's a section you have to play through, there was one in particular I had to go through, I don't know, it took me more than a handful of tries. I kept dying to it, and you had to do a wall run and a couple slick parkour moves, and even some of them not even that difficult, but just it's slow. You have to wait for your character to jump, hang on the ledge, turn left, make sure you line up your jump correctly so she jumps onto the other ledge, turn, jump over the gap. It was tedious, and it wasn't hard, it was just tedious, all because I kept running into a guy, 3 guys with shotguns that would just blast me. And so then I'd go back and I'd start that whole process over again. So was it a long run to get back there? No. Does it take long to load? No. Did I want to do that 10 times? Absolutely not. That is the one thing I can tell you without a reasonable doubt. I did not want to keep doing that.
And it was also like for me, the red bars, my character did not want to grab onto those, especially if the red bar was slightly lower than her. That was when my character was just like, I don't know what to do. And not Andrew. Keith, when you were saying that, I was picturing there was this one scene where you're like going through the vents and then you have to jump onto one of the red bars and then swing to a platform that is off center. So you can either shimmy right while people are shooting you and then go, or you can just try to turn right while jumping. And it just, either option sucks, you know?
Sounds right.
But when you're talking about that, that's the scene that I'm picturing. That was the one that I gave the controller to Andrew.
Like I said, yeah, I agree. Like, it's just when the things weren't working and weren't connecting, this game is very frustrating. Because another thing that frustrated me, and Liz called me out on it eventually, so there was an achievement I was trying to get. There's an achievement to play the game without shooting anyone with a gun, which I did, and it did not award me that achievement, so I was super pissed. But I highly recommend for my achievement hunters out there, don't go for that achievement first.
I said
it was
that. I'm
pissing
like,
me off so
imagine
bad.
if you go through this entire thing and you don't get it, because that has happened.
Yeah.
And so for me, I said that, and then also you were so frustrated and was like, I feel like you would enjoy this game way more if you weren't playing it like this.
And you were 100% right, because
And
I was getting super pissed.
Well, afterwards, I think, did you go back?
Yeah, and I did have more fun just blasting people. In fact, I've been like overkilling people because since I couldn't shoot people before, I'm like, you know what, screw this. I'm just blasting everyone now. But yeah, this game's so much more enjoyable when you actually just grab a gun, just take out the people. Because trying to do melee combat and not use a gun, it was getting me real pissed.
Which honestly, like, not to jump ahead, but your achievement score, I mean, it was better than ours, but it still sucked. So you did it for nothing anyways.
Thanks, babe. But another thing that I loved about this game, so even though it came out in 2008, I think graphically, I loved the graphics in this game. I think this game is really nice looking. There's a couple city skyline segments I actually took a screenshot of. I was actually really impressed with it. Because for me, Keith, I don't know why you're giving me a sour face. I guess you disagree. For me, I think what this game also does really well is contrast of color, which you pointed out earlier, Keith. I was going to ask you guys if you noticed it, but clearly you did. You know, things that runners like or like are highlighted while you're playing are highlighted red. And so majority of the game is either white and then has some other primary color. So you can kind of figure out like what part of the level you're in.
There are a couple times though that I didn't notice something that I had to jump on, like a little elevation. And so for me, it's like,
but that's more your fault. No offense.
No, it okay. So it isn't because there was one time that I messed up and I had to go back and none of the pipes would light up for me. So for me,
that happened a couple times too.
Yeah, so for me, it's like, is it me, or was it just not lit up at that point? So there were a couple times that the red did not show up for me, and so for me, I'm gonna put that at the game. If you're not gonna light up red when you're supposed to be red, and I have no idea where I'm going, and people are shooting at me, that's the game's fault.
Yeah, I don't like. Maybe some of the skylines in the background I didn't notice because I just wasn't really paying attention, but it's very bland. It's these just like blinding white buildings that you're running across, and everything kind of looks the same. Like, yeah, you have these little generators or fans, you know, littered throughout. It's, I don't know, it's just like very generic, stereotypical rooftops.
You're on rooftops. What do you expect? Like a circus up there?
No, but I wrote down that word that Keith said, blinding. There were times where it was like blinding white, and that's why I said earlier where like the city just looked pristine, and I wasn't sure if that was like the effect that they wanted. But yeah, there were some times that it was just like, oh man, I wish I had sunglasses on.
Yeah, and I mean, I did notice the things lighting up red because it explained that in the tutorial, so I did pick that up, and it was nice. It made it easier to kind of know where I was going, but like it nothing wowed me with this, and like all of the character models to me just seemed like they were like a remastered GoldenEye. Like nothing was impressive. They moved funny. They didn't really look all that impressive. The only thing I noticed that was actually pretty good, because they did a good job of doing it without being creepy, is when you're doing the like takedown scenes and you like pull one of the enemies in real close and you're looking them in the eye, the eyes look really good without being like really creepy.
I didn't notice that.
That was the only thing I noticed. I was like, oh, that's really good. Otherwise, it wasn't bad. I just was like, oh, there's nothing good about this.
Oh, for 2008, I really
Okay,
liked it.
so we keep saying that, but I keep picturing 90s because of the dialogue and everything. So what other games came out in 2008 that I can that I've played or around that time? Could be like 2009,
Fable came out in 2004, which is 4 years prior. And if you compare the graphics of Fable to this...
Well, Fable we also played was an anniversary
edition,
that so it was actually improved graphics.
But still, the original Fable I don't think was really much worse than this was in terms of graphics. And then it had a better open world. Like, I know it wasn't a parkour game, so they're not really comparable. But I'm just saying that a game that came out 4 years prior, and it's not like EA is a tiny little studio that can't afford to put out a good game.
I'm gonna have to look up like what games came out in 2008.
Wait, you're saying Fable looked better?
Yeah.
See, I disagree.
Oh, people wise, I
maybe
don't
not the
think
people,
so, but I'm remembering.
See, I liked the environments of Mirror's Edge. Because for me, like I said, I loved the use of color. Yes, I do agree. Some of the white was very blinding, but I just like the colors were so vibrant, and I loved it. You know, white's always being used. You know, you got the splash of red, and it just really makes the red pop out. And then, you know, you're inside the building, and there's a lot of green everywhere, or then there's a lot of orange. Like, every level had a very specific primary color that was thrown in there. And I thought it worked real well.
So this doesn't help me at all because I haven't played any of these games, but it's according to Google, video games in 2008: Grand Theft Auto 4, Fallout 3, Call of Duty.
Call of Doodle is what he said.
Call of Duty World at War.
Wow.
Okay, never mind. We'll skip that one. Gears of War 2, Battlefield Bad Company. Like, are these...
Gears of War 2 is really good.
Graphically, though?
We played Gears of War 1. Do you not remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. We only did Gears of War 5.
Yeah, but we're talking graphics. We can change a lot between one game to the next. Like,
so hold on, Liz. Are you with Keith? Do you think these graphics are bad?
No, because like I'm having trouble picturing video games in 2008. Because like I said, I haven't played any of the games that I just listed that Google says came out in 2008. I'm thinking like 90s. But if you're saying like the 2004 game, like I don't think that they're bad. I don't know.
What about the cutscenes? Do you like that the cutscenes they did a cartoon style?
I did think that was kind of a cool design choice. But I didn't watch them or pay attention to them, so they were kind of irrelevant to me.
Solid work, Keith.
I think like the way that the main character walks kind of reminds me of, I'm trying to think of the cartoon, if it was like Batman Beyond or something, where like he's kind of like his shoulders are.
Yeah,
I'm
I know
like
exactly
making
what you're talking
the
about.
movement, but you guys can't see me obviously because you're listening. But you have this like swagger, like so for me, I don't know, like I think it was good for the time. But I'm not sure. I don't think the graphics are bad. I've seen worse graphics in games that have come out in the last 5 years. So no matter what, I don't think the graphics are bad.
I think it's less about the graphics and it's the environments. It's the fact that everything is just one tone all the time. Like even when you go into the buildings, it's like, okay, this building has orange walls with orange floors and everything is orange. And then you're going to go into some vents and those are going to look the same. And then you're going to come back to some more orange walls. But the next level, don't worry, the walls are blue.
I agree. But I do think, like, maybe a little controversial, but I think that people are, like, bigger for me when it comes to graphics. Like, and what I'm saying is, like, when it comes to whether the graphics are good or bad, it is so much harder to make, like, good... Not good-looking people. Realistic people. That's the word I want to use. It's a lot harder to make realistic people.
Now, Keith, I'm not disagreeing with you either. I do understand what you're saying. You're seeing a whole lot of the same hallways, same vents, same rooftops. I get that.
But how many like super crazy pixelated games came out in the last even 2 years that graphically were way worse, that had the same environments that you go to, but everything is so hyper pixelated you can't tell the woman's face from her butt. Like, for me, like that's why I can't say that this is terrible.
Are you talking about like intentionally pixel graphics?
Sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's just budget.
Because
Are you talking about like a game like Narita Boy or Children of Morta?
There's a couple of games that we've played that are way worse than those. Like pixelated where like it's just like everything is just... You don't really see the character's face until like a little blurb comes up and they're talking. Oh. And then you're like, oh, that's what the character looks like.
But those are like intentional, like...
Are they though?
Yeah. I did. Most definitely they are. Like...
I disagree because there are some times where like the character, it's like just this weird blurb outline. And it's like, I think it's more budget wise. Whereas like, I don't think anyone intentionally makes some like obscure looking thing and be like, oh, poof, like that. There's just like a drawing of what they look like.
I mean,
like no, if it comes down to like studio size and budget and graphics and stuff. Like I don't think like bad.
I mean, plenty of games have shown that that budget and team size don't necessarily dictate graphics. Like the Ascent had
but sometimes
like 12
it
people who built
shows
that game.
A lot of bad stuff though. Like I'm not saying that it's always intentional, but there are some games that graphically like have been bad that are pixelated. There are good pixelated games graphically, and there are bad games that are graphically pixelated.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Keith does not.
Well, because
you're insulting his jam. Like those are the types of games.
I'm more confused, I guess, by your logic of just like I don't know, like I said, like the Ascent was made by like 25 people or 15 people, and that game was gorgeous.
But you're looking at a game that was made 14 years ago, 2008. Graphically, I think this is better than a lot of the games that we have played in the past couple of years. Where it's like you have like better technology and you have more knowledge of how to make things graphically better in video games. And so for me, it's like 2008, graphically, this is better than some of the games that we've been playing that have come out in the last, not even 5 years, but like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I think we agree to disagree on this.
I think you have bad taste.
Keith's just supposed to move on. So, but anyway, I want to go back a little bit. So, Keith, I do agree with you. A lot of these hallways are very much the same, and you are seeing a lot of the same environments.
I know you do get a subway. Ooh.
Okay. But this game isn't very long. So, for me, like, it didn't bother me. The time to beat, you're looking at like 6 hours for the main story. And to like complete it, you're looking at like 12 hours. That's like time trials and stuff like that. So, it's not a very long game. So, yes, you're seeing a lot of the same environments. But if this game was like, 12, 14, 16 hours, I would get annoyed with it.
I just don't.
You're running on rooftops. What do you expect?
I just don't think there's anything impressive about it. I'm just not like there's.
Well, I don't think there's anything very impressive about you, but we still keep you around.
Well, I know, but I'm not
so rude.
I'm not over here talking myself up. You're like, wow, these are great graphics. It's these cool skylines. Oh, no, there's no. Time has nothing to do with it.
We can
it's kind of hard
disagree.
Because you can say like, oh, this game is good for its time or the graphics are good for its time, but at the end of the day, it's how much are you enjoying it in 2022. So for me, it's kind of like a fine line where it's like, how much leeway do I want to give to an old game?
All the leeway.
Especially when you're rating a game. It's like, if this came out in 2022, what would you rate it?
All of the ratings.
Okay.
But moving on to the next. But what did you guys think of the audio?
There was some music or noises. I don't even know that they were so irritating. And so for me, I don't know if it was...
Can you make the sound for us for the segment?
No, I can't. Because I immediately turned on the volume. There were...
Whoa.
I don't know if it was when I was in these really frustrating moments that I turned it down, and that's why I hated it so much, or if it was just like a regular, but it was kind of like not a screeching, but just like a...
I know which one you're talking about. It's when you're falling.
Yeah.
And it does this louder whooshing, and it turns into a screech.
Yeah.
I heard it a lot, whatever it was, and that's
so
probably it.
So it probably is falling.
Yeah. I get that a lot too.
Exactly. And so, but for me, I wanted to keep the volume down lower, and then a cutscene would come on, and I'd turn it up, and then I would turn it down. And so for me, like, no, musically, noise-wise, I was not a fan.
For this, I'm actually a mix because I do agree with you, Liz. There was a couple segments where I kept falling, and yeah, it does a louder whooshing, and it turns into a screech. That was obnoxious. I was really tempted to take my headphones off. But there's other segments later on in the game where you start fighting other people who are doing parkour, and hearing their footsteps
It sounded like you said
behind me.
farting.
Room chair. But but hearing enemy footsteps chasing me in the back of my headphones was terrifying. I was legitimately like hunched over my seat, like super tense because I could hear footsteps right behind me chasing me, and that audio really got me on
But I
edge of my
felt like
seat.
I was always being chased. And like there were certain times where you knew that the enemies were going to be there. It's like, oh, I'm having fun. Enemies are going to be nearby.
You're hearing a lot of sirens and a lot of gunfire.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't think I noticed the music because I didn't play this with my headphones. I just had the TV audio on and I didn't have it on very loud, so I didn't hear a lot of the audio probably because you didn't need it. Like it was a game that largely just didn't like. There was no audio cues that required you to listen to it, so like you could get away without it for that. So that's honestly what I did, and not even because anything bothered me, except for that falling noise bothered me because again, also happened a lot for me.
What did you guys think of the voice acting?
Good.
Largely ignored it. I skipped a lot of it.
Skipped all the cutscenes. I thought it was actually good. I thought the voice actors they had for their roles did a solid job.
Wait,
like
you
I said,
can
I thought the
skip?
writing was awful. What?
You can skip?
Yeah, the back button.
Yeah.
Because there, like, if it's a cutscene and you're about to do like a quick time thing or something, you can't. I learned that the hard way. With that guy that's trying to throw you off the building.
Oh, the guy that should have been Jack
Well,
Black.
that's not a
Those
cutscene.
times.
That's just a slowed down event.
No, but there's talking and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can't skip it.
That guy could have been Jack Black, by the way.
That's my next question is, which character would you wish was Jack Black?
All of
Him
them.
for sure.
The main character.
Every single
Also,
one.
just Jack Black parkour would be pretty awesome. The whole time he's just like wheezing and out of breath.
That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, I was disappointed because even the soundtrack too, like when it was picking up, still wasn't great. There wasn't a lot of music either. A lot of it's just hearing cars and sirens and gunfire. So it's kind of disappointing in that.
And also disappointing, the achievements. Like I said earlier, Andrew, you got 275 and you beat the game. You got 14 out of 50. And Keith, 185. You got 10 achievements. And me, 125 out of 1250. There's
I think I had 275? I thought it was
1,250.
over 300.
What?
I thought it was over 300.
300 what?
Gamer score. You said it was 275?
I just looked it up right before we did it, and yeah, 275.
Dang, that makes me sad.
Out of 1250 gamer score, I got 7 out of 50. I would say, gamer score wise, like achievement wise, this game sucks.
Yes and no. When you're just playing the main story, you obviously aren't getting a bunch, but you're getting an achievement for every time you're doing a time trial, which I did about half of them, but they're only worth like 10 each. So I was like, eh. The one I was working for of not shooting anyone was worth 80. So I was really irritated that I didn't get that
So you
one.
really got more than 300. See, this happened in a game not too long ago, and it's the first time I've ever done it, so I don't want to hear anything from you two. But if you do an achievement correctly and doesn't give it to you, you just give it to yourself.
I can't give it myself. So whenever someone looks at my gamer score, I should say, actually add 80 points because I played
you're
Mirror's
what? Like,
Edge.
what's
so
the
long
Just
math?
put it in
Like
your-
355.
Write it in your bio. Please,
I'll write it in my
please
bio,
add 80
whatever.
gamer score to
Because
whatever.
it's so rare. It's not like we do this all the time. You went through a really annoying time to get there. And so you say like, it's good and bad. It's like, if I beat a game, I want more than 275 gamer score. And you went back and played more of the game. So for me, like, I'm sorry, I disagree. Like, that's mental to
So
me that you went
if
back.
anyone is ahead of Andrew by 80 points or less on this month's gamer score achievement, consider that not a win.
You're actually beating me right now, Keith.
That's embarrassing.
Well, I mean, I played Donut County for the first time.
Oh,
that was a
that's an
free
easy
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah. A fun 1,000, by the way. We should do that game.
I'm not saying that you have to be like, oh no, you can't beat me because I actually got this. I'm just saying, like, personally, like, you should give yourself those
I'm not
points.
saying that you're saying that about yourself, Liz. I'm saying that Andrew is saying that about himself.
You know what? Personally, I'm giving myself 1 billion points, so I'm actually number one
For
in
what?
achievement score this
For what?
in the world.
For
1 billion for what?
putting up with us for
For
3
for
years.
being an awesome host.
Host
You laughed at that wrong, Liz.
Honestly, you guys have heard me doing my outro. I can't imagine doing the intro too. Blah, 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 blah. Was it last week that I couldn't get out my outro?
Yeah, and I did it for you.
Yeah.
I like we did this for 3 years. I still screw up the intro so many times. I mean, I edit it out so people don't hear it, but it's kind of a tongue twister.
It's
Constantly doing
when
it.
you think about it and you're like, oh, I need to do this. But when you're just like in the moment saying it, it's fine. But when you're like, oh crap, I got to do my outro. And then like you get in your own head.
Because I'm doing the intro, then I'm like, crap, what did I say everyone's intro was going to be this week? And then I end up screwing it all up. But then I edit it, and it makes it sound like I do it like in one shot.
Did you guys ever do a public speaking or a communications class? How'd you do?
Actually, pretty good.
I don't know.
Yeah, it actually helped me a lot. I hate public speaking, but honestly, taking that class in college like really helped me. Why are you laughing?
No, because I'm just thinking of my own experience in like a public speaking thing, and like I kind of embarrassed myself. We won't go into it, but you know, it happened. But I got an A in the class.
Huh? Was it a participation A?
They make
Was it like contact
so they
credit?
make you do like a poem. And
Please tell me you have this poem. Please
not
tell
like
this
a
poem.
handwritten poem, but you
Okay.
have to say a poem. And they kept saying like I sounded sing-song, and I'm like, I don't know how to do it differently. So we went up and he was like, I'm gonna do it with you, and I couldn't do it like normal, I guess. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just like reading it. I'm not like as it is. Like I'm sorry though, like the words rhyme, but yeah, it was.
That's
I'm
literally the
blushing
definition of like
so
a
hard
poem.
right now. I don't do good with public speaking, and so it was kind of like I was like, I never want to do this again. But you know, somebody
Now you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, but I legitimately was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm reading what is in front of me. It was, whew, it's hot in here.
Did you ever do public speaking, Keith?
I think so. I don't remember how I
He
did.
missed that whole thing. Thank goodness.
All right. But let's get to our final thoughts here. So Mirror's Edge. As I said, I enjoyed the game. I gave it a game. It definitely has its faults. Gunplay, not great. When parkour is picking up on it, it's a ton of fun. I had fun running on rooftops, sliding, gliding, grabbing a post. It's really cool. It's a very unique experience. It being first person with no HUD, it looked really cool. But it also was kind of a negative because, God, just give me an arrow. Just give me a navigation arrow. It's so jarring when I'm running and having a good time and I have to press B. My character whips her neck in a completely different direction. I fall off a building. So stuff like that just got really annoying. I wish this game had more stealth. So I'm hoping the sequel fixes a lot of these things that we're complaining about because I would be interested in it. I think the idea of this world of you being a parkour messenger, pretty cool. But the actual delivery of the story in this game was really bad. The ending, I legitimately was laughing because I was like, seriously, that's how they end this game? It was so goofy. For me, I think I'm just going to give it a 78.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this game had a lot of potential. I think I could have enjoyed it, but what it did well, it just did well in such small spurts that I just never truly grasped enjoyment of it. And you're right, nothing's terrible except for the combat. The combat is actually terrible. But I don't know. I never really could get into anything about it. And it felt slow for being what I was expecting it to be. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I was running, and it felt more like a walking simulator at points. So I don't know. Mirror's Edge, the more and more I've talked about it, just not for me. I mean, I was gonna say 72, but I guess now that feels high. 67.
I mean, another thing I kind of want to complain about, the cover art is awful.
Yeah.
That's not a good cover art. If if you did not know what Mirror's Edge was and you saw this cover art, I would not think, yeah, that's a parkour game where you're running around first person.
Yeah, no, there's that, and I mean, again, and I know it's 2008, so whatever age. It was EA. Like, this wasn't made by a no-name studio. This is a AAA studio, and I just think they kind of just threw a game out there to have a game out there. So
I mean, I liked its uniqueness.
yeah, I liked the idea of what it could have been, but put it together.
Get it together already, EA.
I think it's kind of crazy how long we've been talking about this game for how much they give
There's
you.
that too.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's a good weekend game.
For you, maybe. I'm going to give it a high 62. I was thinking 60, but for me, like, if you're not going to make the story incredibly interesting, make the gameplay incredibly interesting, or make the combat. For me, it just, like, I felt like it was middle of the road for all of them, and it definitely affected the experience. Looking at Metacritic for 360, 79, and 7.6. And our fourth and silent co-host did review this game and the sequel.
Both zeros.
I think the sequel was a 0.
Okay.
This game, I think, like, so I'm looking back at all of the amazing games that we have played, like truly dynamite games, that he gave a 0. And we're like, do you know what? I think he...
Like Janitors of the Galaxy?
I don't think he likes games anymore. Like, didn't he, like, I
think we've come to this conclusion a while ago.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, so he just lost his love of video games a long time ago. And we're like, why is he so bitter towards these great games? And I think he lost it here. He gave this game a 2.
Oh.
Think of all of the great, think of all the great games that we have played that he gave a 0. And he gave this game a 2. Like, okay. If you, like, just, oh my gosh. Wasn't Plague's Tale a 0? No, that was
Plague's Tale, he actually
one.
gave a good one. I think he gave it a 6.
Which is, like, his highest, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. But just, yeah. But anyways, so
did he call it, like, Mirror's Turd or something like that?
No. The first paragraph didn't translate well at all. And this is one of the worst translations. But the rare combat phases are very poorly done, and the difficulty is always high because of this deficient maneuverability. Remains a game certainly quite beautiful. You like the hospital decorations and a nice atmosphere, but the whole remains very thin. Too thin. Almost 10 years later, I relaunched the thing because in the meantime, it became backwards compatible on the Xbox One, and recently it received an Xbox One X enhanced patch. The old 360 game thus runs squarely in 4K on the Microsoft's Little Monster. That was a weird translation. Despite some textures that have remained sluggish, the readability of the game is much improved with the imperturbable 30 FPS. This is an opportunity to realize again that despite its exhilarating side, Mirror's Edge is definitely unplayable shit, obviously because of its subjective view. Should I have said SHIT?
Too late now.
Well, anyways, he didn't like it. He dropped an SHIT bomb.
It's usually turd. Which, that's another quick thing. Yeah, this game has the Microsoft FPS boost on it. So it is running at 60 frames, I do believe, which does also help improve its graphics. Yeah, Keith, did you download this or were you clouding it?
I downloaded it. You have to. Didn't let me cloud it.
Okay. So I don't know if you got the FPS boost because I think it might be only in the next-gen consoles that get it. I don't know if you noticed.
But yeah, his review was in 2017.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys aren't as shocked as I am. Like, thinking back, like, there's so many games I was like, what is he talking about? This game is
this
excellent.
This one definitely sounded a lot more bitter.
Was one of the games that I disliked the most that we've played. Like, there are some games I've given even 40s, like, that I've truly despised. But this is one of the bottom games that we've played, and he gave it a 2.
You know, we probably angered so many people because a lot of people love this game.
But, I mean, you also have that nostalgic value of it, too. Where it's like, I haven't played, like, a parkour game, especially from the 2000s. And so, you know. And we did say that it was good in certain areas. But it's like, if you compare this to some of the games that we've played, like,
for me, I just hated this story so much. I give like the story a 0, which getting into the spoilers here. So let me paint the picture of the finale here. Okay. So this whole story of your sister is being framed for this murder.
Keith already looks bored.
Okay. There's no real particular reason why they pick your sister. They just need a cop. But for whatever reason, like the bad guys are very much like, oh, we've already like, already kind of put our eggs in the basket of getting her sister arrested. We got to keep going. We got to keep kidnapping her, and we really got to make it look like it's the sister.
I mean, you can't tell me they don't know who this runner is with all their security and stuff. They probably know she's a runner, knows that her sister is a police officer, and like, do you know what? We'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Maybe we'll get her trying to rescue her sister. Makes sense to me.
But no, they're not even really going after you. Okay, so they're going after the runners in general, the organization, okay? And if that's the whole purpose of the Project Icarus, they're training military people to be parkour people so they can hunt down the runners. If they truly want to hunt down the runners, you know how they could easily do it? Big builder fences. Like, that's all you have to do. You're running around and like every once in a while you cross electric fence and you can't cross it. So it's like, why don't they just put up more electric fences? Problem solved. We beat the runners. But no. So, and not only that, did you know this game takes place in a matter of like 3 days, like 2 or 3 in-game days? And within that time, your sister, who's a cop, gets framed for the murder, goes to jail, gets tried, and starts to go to like prison or to be executed. I don't know. They just say she's going to prison.
I'm sure in some countries that's very normal.
But like 3 days. I don't know. So anyway.
I mean,
the whole story, though, you're trying to figure out who the big bad is, which ends up kind of being Jackknife, the guy that you interact with. But literally the last scene of him is like, Faithy, you don't understand what's going on. This is bigger. And she's like, oh, you mean it's the mayor? And it instantly goes into this fight segment, which really isn't a fight segment. He's in a helicopter, and you jump on the helicopter and kick him out, and you grab your sister, which before she jumped in the helicopter, there's like 40 troops on the roof. You land on the roof, and there's no troops. The troops just leave you alone, and you hug your sister. The end. There's no follow-up about the mayor, that the mayor is the one dictating this.
I read at the end that the security gets increased because of everything that happened. Is that not true? That's what Wikipedia said.
Kind of. But like it ends. Like you save your sister and murder Jackknife, and then you hug, and then it's like that's the end. Like there's no closure. Like the bad guys on the roof no longer were chasing you, and your sister's free now because you hugged. Like I don't know. It was so poorly delivered. I was just like, that was it. Like that's how they ended it. Like, oh, you mean the mayor's the bad guy? Let's hug. The end. And I was just like, this is awful. But that's the end of my rant of the ending. I thought that ending was so bad.
Yeah, color me surprised that it wasn't very good.
Yeah. So
I didn't think it was leading to anything special.
Yeah, I didn't expect it.
Oh yeah, we didn't even do our outros before this. We're supposed to do our outros before.
Because I really wanted to go on my rant about that ending. It was so stupid.
I'm glad you shared and got it off your chest.
Thank you. But so anyway, I've been your Hardcore Gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird01952. Please, if you have a game recommendation, we'd love to hear it. Email us at gamepassgrabbag@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on our Twitter at GBGBpod. We've been posting polls because we've been getting a lot of game recommendations, and we suck at picking games, so we leave it up to you guys. So make sure you follow us. Whenever polls up, please vote. And we're also now on TikTok.
Right.
Good job, Liz.
Yeah.
She set that up for us.
I embarrassed myself and I put it on the web. So there you go.
That's what the internet's for.
I got a mind like a sieve, but if I embarrass myself again, I'll try to put it on there.
Of course, our TikTok is Game Pass Grab Bag.
Nice.
Thanks.
Then Keith, I'm running on out of here.
Bye. Oh, I see what you did there.
Did it.
And I'm Liz Noob, gamertag CommonOnDean, and I'm on Twitter at Liz Noob. Noob is EW.
All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. We love you all. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.